Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host Wally, and today we're going to be talking about the third starter champion of Raid Shadow Legend, and that is Senor Galek. Hey, let's get to it. Let's get to it. So, Galek is from the Orcs faction, and he is an attack-based rare champion. So, let's get on to these skills. Alright, so Cross Slash, which is his A1, attacks one enemy 2 times. Very simple. His books go into straight and damage, which is pretty much an extra 25%. Let's go on to his A2. Hellraiser attacks all enemies, has an extra 15% chance of inflicting critical hit, a 30% increased speed buff on this champion for 2 turns. And there is no cooldown, but there is a nice 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 plus percent damage from the skill, and it's a 3-turn cooldown. So let's talk about this skill and let's break it down. So what this skill does is, one, it's an AoE, so that attacks all enemies on the battlefield, on the enemy's side of the battlefield. It gains an extra 15% chance of inflicting a crit hit, so that means you're going to add 15 and 15, that gets you 30, so which means you need 70% to add to your crit rate as much as possible, and then your A2 amongst proccing will give the extra incentive of 30%. I mean, the extra incentive 15%, which completes the 100%, and then of course you just add whatever amounts of crit damage you can to do a decent amount of damage throughout the battle. And then on the second part, it gives you a 30% increased speed buff on this champion for 2 turns, which is pretty nice because, as you can see here, Galek is 103 in speed. Oh, I don't know why I did that, but he's 103 in speed, right? And with that, if you calculate 30% from 103 and then react, that will approximately be 134 speed. That makes Galek the fastest champion amongst the let me say that one more time. That makes Galek the fastest champion amongst the 4 starter champions in the game, hands down. Other than Kale, in some situations, like I said before, if both Kale and Galek are both in Spider, then Kale is definitely faster than Galek. But with naturally, as far as just increased speed, Galek is way more faster than all the 4 starter champions amongst hitting this A2. Now, naturally, I believe the fastest starter champion is Elhain at 107, and then I think Aethel's like 104, and then both Kale and Galek are both the same 103. But with that boost of the A2, he's definitely the most fastest starter champion amongst the 4. And then if you go into the A3, which is Curse Blade, attack 4 times at random, has a 30% chance of placing a 30% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns, has a 30% chance of placing a 60% decreased decreased defense debuff for 2 turns if the target has more than 2 debuffs. So I know this is a little bit of a mouthful, but real quick, one, you get 4 chances to put in 4 books, and of course you get to raise that chance, which makes this 40% chance to put 30%, or it makes it a 40% chance to put in a 60%, right? So you get 40% chance overall amongst attacking 4 times at random. And then of course this is a 5-turn cooldown from you using this overall. So what I will do here is this. So let's break this down. One, as like I said again, I wouldn't do this against waves. I'll morely save this skill against bosses that are single targets, that are the main target, aka Fire Knight, aka Dragon. Those are one-on-one targets, and any of the bosses where you have to knock off the nodes first, then use it simply on the boss itself. Reason why I would consider doing that is because A, you don't want to waste your time slinging these blades to other enemies. You rather just use the A2 to do that, and then just constantly keep doing the A1. And then when you do the boss, you just pretty much, handle the boss with this, right? So what I'll do here is, in most cases when you're doing the battles, I was in battle scenes, right? I would do Hellraiser first, Curse Blade usually would be second, and then of course the A1 overall. But what I would do here in most cases, if anything, right, I'll mostly do just the A2 and A1, simply because you're gonna do this, right? It's gonna be 2 to 3 turns. amongst you proccing this, and plus you're gonna be faster, so you can get back to your moves way more quicker than the usual, and then you're gonna just command the A1 in most cases. And then of course you're gonna get back to this in no time. Most cases they're not. So especially if you make your champion fast enough, which if you see here, right, if you click on the total thing and it gives you a breakdown, if you notice what it says here on speed, determines how quickly a champion fills their turn meter. Your team will move in order of speed, fastest champion first. A champion with 200 speed will move twice as fast as champion with 100 speed. So just think about that overall. When you're able to get your Galek fast enough to do what he does, and he's going to activate this A2, he's going to be fast enough to get back to these two moves. Like, he's going to be fast enough to get back to this one ASAP in most cases. So, which actually, you know, is more mindful to just use these two. And then the only time you really use this is against bosses that are more single targeted, and then all that. But hey, you do what you do, let it be what it is, right? And then of course when he's the leading champion, his Aurora is increase all allies HP in all battles by 15%. So yeah. So with that said, when you calculate Galek's HP with the 50%, pretty much like I said for Kale, because he's pretty much the same, 15,767. Other than that, speed, like I said, it could, from his flat stats comparison, it'll be like approximately 133, 134. So you can calculate. So he needs about 67 to like 66, give or take, to really be able to cross over, adding to the main stat of speed. And then of course you're gonna add the extra 15, so you need 70% to make this fully crit cap at 100%. And then of course just get the damage, right? So with that said, I want to make sure I add this key piece of component in the mix. Here is, how do you build Kale? And I know in most cases, looking at this, you're gonna think you need accuracy. In most cases, I'll tell you this: you don't need accuracy, respectfully, for this skill. Reason why is because there's better champions in the game that you can use that have decreased defense better than Galek's. One of those champions is Sorgala. If you look at her A3, attacks all enemies 3 times. After the first hit, has a 50% chance of placing 60% decreased defense debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. And if you look at that, if you look at how much book she's putting in, she got about 3 books of these. They're gonna go in together and increase to 25, making this a 75% chance rate to drop this decreased defense. And then this goes down to being a 4-turn cooldown. So this is pretty massive. Now I do remember you technically would when you get Sorgala, it's technically she hits 2 times at first. You have to ascend her up to like 3 stars to then make this 3 times. But yeah. So one of the better champions. And guess what? She has increased ally accuracy in all battles by 40, which is gonna make this better. Well, this is gonna make this skill even better for her because she's able to do it flawlessly at a better rate. But another champion you can do if you don't get Sorgala, even though you could through the Raid Shadow Legends generator link, War Maiden. You can use War Maiden because guess what? Her A3 is attacks all enemies, has a 75% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. This racks up an extra 25, making this a complete 100% chance of dropping this debuff completely, which is very massive. Now I do believe this is also, you have to ascend her as well, and then this becomes this, because right now this is fully maxed, so of course it's not gonna tell you this, but I think you have to ascend her at like 3 stars, and then this will be this exact skill. So yeah, but with also this being cooldown, so that's on a 2 to 3 ratio. So yeah, so personally I wouldn't waste time on this skill at all as far as needing accuracy. I would not even build Galek with accuracy because he does not need accuracy for this skill. So, and if you think about this, you're placing the increased speed. There's no chance of you placing the speed. It's just going to be placed, period, when you activate it. And the A1 is just attack 1 enemy 2 times. So if I were you, like Elhain, I would not even bother adding accuracy to Galek at all. I would just focus on survivability, which is HP and defense, and then plugging in damage, being fast, which is speed, and then getting crit rate, crit damage, and that's it. That's how you pretty much should be building your Galek overall. Other than that, like I said before, if you're going to need Galek and his builds, it's real simple. Lifesteal gear as much as everybody else. Of course, cruel, right? And then of course crit rate, and then of course crit damage. If you're needing a different, like if you're planning on using him for whatever reasons amongst that debuff skill, because you need someone to do decreased defense, because you for some reason just can't get a decreased defense champion, because you 9 times out of 10 you neither A, did not use the Raid Shadow Legend generator to get Zorgala or anybody else's link, which actually would have gave you a Yugo, which also does decrease defense as well. Then of course you would use accuracy, perception, to get the accuracy up enough towards the beginning of the game. But like I said before, all you need is lifesteal speed, lifesteal crit rate, lifesteal crit damage, lifesteal cruel. And then later down the line, when you're don't need him to be in the lifesteal, then overall you would just put him in savage and cruel or any other gear that you would need him for the sense of controlling the waves, etc, etc. But one thing's for sure though, what is the big title that is connected to Galek when it comes to Raid Shadow Legends in most cases is pretty much being a campaign farmer champion, because, well, like I said before, his A2, that increased speed. The faster you, so technically because of that increased speed, Galek will be the more faster champion amongst the four to clear out the waves a little bit more better than most cases, give or take. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So he's pretty much labeled a campaign farmer specialist in that sense overall, but he's pretty good in other areas as well. He's actually my starter champion in this account that I have in front of you. But with that said, please hit that like, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell for notifications if you like what you heard today, to keep following the channel. And I'll be with you guys next time. See you guys till then. Peace.